to all of you, and I welcome you all to this free live session that's hosted for you exclusively by TalentSprint. So as you're aware of today's session, the session will primarily focus on direct-indirect speech and active-passive voice, right? So before getting started with the session, let me just take a quick look as to how many of you have already logged in. So I can see a good number: Harsha, Soni, Ankit, Vikas. A very good evening once again, all of you. I think Gunisha is also there. Right, so I think a very warm welcome to all of you once again, and I hope you'll enjoy today's session. Now, the idea of choosing this particular topic for today's session was keeping in mind the SSC CGL, which was scheduled for May. However, as you're all aware, that it's been postponed to the month of August. But as you said, you can always call it as a bonus time for your preparation rather than being upset over the postponement, right? So it's just like some additional time that you have to brush up on the skills that you thought you needed to master on. So I would say take this time as an opportunity to bridge all the gaps that you possibly feel you have, from the exam perspective and your preparation. So you can use this particular time as a bonus for you to bridge that gap, all right? Secondly, as you're all aware that SBI clerks notification, the notification for the exam SBI clerks, it's already out, and I think the last date of the application is the 25th of April, right? And apparently and coincidentally, I'd like to say that that's the day that we in TalentSprint are actually starting off the refresher sessions for the SBI clerks. So this information, obviously the students who are already a part of our online program would know. However, for the benefit of others, maybe some of your friends and others also who have joined for today's session and who've still not enrolled for a course of their choice, can obviously take a look. I'm sure they must have heard from their friends about the program, and it's just recently that we have revamped a lot of content. We've added a lot of content in various difficult topics, I would say, pertaining to quant and other subjects, and we are still adding. So for all of you who've already enrolled for this program, the updates. There's already an events calendar that has already been updated about the sessions that will go live from the 25th. The refresher sessions for SBI clerks from the 25th of April. And for all of you who are new and apparently are a part of today's free live session, for the benefit of you, you can always visit our website, that is www.talentsprint.com. I'll make a note of it at the end of this session though. It's www.talentsprint.com/bank, right? So you can visit the website and take a look at it. You can choose which is the program that will help you achieve your goal, right? So there are lucrative offers which are constantly being posted on the website, so you must take the advantage. Of course, the course undoubtedly is one of the best, but at the same time, I would say if you're getting a good deal and a good price for the amazing course that you would opt for, it's like double the bonus, isn't it? So I think on that note, let's quickly get started. The purpose of having chosen this particular topic for today's live session was keeping in mind the SSC CGL. As you're all aware that in SSC CGL there are a set number of questions that are asked from direct-indirect speech and active-passive voice. Now, practically in 1 hour session, it will not be possible to cover each and every aspect. However, I'll try to give you an overview of the concepts for both the types and also touch upon a few of them just for you to understand how to approach questions in this. So, although the exam has been postponed, but whatever knowledge you're going to gain from today's session, and also for some of you who may just choose to enroll for a course, the knowledge will not go a waste, right? I hope you all agree with me, that it's good that we have a session today and you can practice more. You have enough time to practice and you can make the most of this time period before you take the SSC CGL, right? Do you all agree? I think let me just get a very quick yes from all of you, and I think I can get started very quickly after that. All right. Okay, I think Lakshmi, Swagata, I'm still waiting that, how many of you feel that, okay, I think Deepak, Simran, a lot of you have a yes to say, right, very good, thank you so much. So we'll quickly get started. As you're aware that today's session, the thing that I'm going to cover as a part of today's session is direct-indirect speech. Now, direct-indirect speech. Now, in the exam, you know that there are a set number of questions, especially in the SSC CGL, which are asked directly from this topic, right? So, a good knowledge on this. It's a very simple, I would say, it is simple in terms of concepts, but the more you practice, the better you get a hang of it. Of course, rules are there, and I'm sure once I discuss with you the rules, you'll be able to relate to how to apply the concepts. But at the same time, not much is achieved without practice. So everything depends on you. You really need to practice once you've learned a concept. Okay? So direct speech, as the name suggests, it is when you say things as it is spoken by the speaker. Right? Suppose you're communicating to somebody about someone's statement or speech as it is. So in that, punctuation marks and commas, inverted commas, and it is present in the direct speech, which means as it is. Okay, I'll share a screen, and I'm sure things will be more clear. I'll take certain examples too. But at the same time, when you convert it to indirect speech, like I'm just taking the first topic, direct-indirect speech first. Okay, when you talk of indirect speech, in just one line, if you can define indirect speech, what does it mean? Indirect speech, in other words, it's also known as the reported speech. How you report it. If you want to report to somebody as to what the other person has spoken, by rewording it, right? So the art of the way you reword it is actually indirect speech. And there are certain rules behind it. There are questions pertaining to this which are asked. Of course, in SSC CGL you have direct questions, set number of questions asked on this particular topic, but even otherwise, I would say in finding errors or spot the error question type, you may encounter certain questions which would require the concept of direct-indirect speech. Okay, so yeah, mostly in tier 2 is what you, I'd say Vikram, you would find a set number of questions, and I think this concept will help you both in taking up the questions which are asked based on the previous year's patterns. But however, if the exam has been postponed, as as all of you must be aware of it, there is speculation whether the exam will be totally online, right? So we do not know what lies ahead, but what we've seen as a pattern is what we're discussing. Okay, so let's quickly get started. I'm going to very quickly share a screen with you, share a few examples about direct-indirect speech, and then we will move on to active and passive voice. Alright? Okay, as you can see on the screen in front of you, right, there are a few rules. For example, when there is a sentence which is in the simple present, okay, like in the example that I've mentioned, he said, I want to go. Now, which is the verb here? He said, okay, so the reported verb, okay, that is said, which is in the past tense. Alright, so when it is said, I just want you to pay attention to, so here if you see, it is said, which is in the past tense. If that is the case, then how does it change? Alright, he said, I want to go. So what is the form? He said. Now when you replace the comma and the inverted commas, you will find the use of that. He said that. Now I changes to, when you're putting it in the reported speech, the first person, that is I, changes to he, and want, which is in the simple present tense, changes to simple past tense. So that's the example. He wanted to go. Okay, he said that he wanted to go. Alright? Okay, now this is the first one that I've written, but from the second example where you see whenever in the sentence you have it in the present continuous form, the verb is in the present continuous form, what are the changes that take place? Alright? So, I have the second example, guys. I want you all to also keep contributing. I'm looking at the chat on and off, so I would suggest if you also keep posting your responses. Alright? She said. Then you have punctuations, of course, comma and inverted comma to show that it is in the direct speech. She said, I am coming. What do you think will happen whenever a sentence is given in the present continuous? The verb is in the present continuous form. So all of you are able to identify that am coming is in the present continuous form, right? So she said. Do we make any changes in she said? No. But then what we have to look at is the reported verb. Okay? She said, if it's in the past tense, we will keep it that way. However, the change that will happen after that. She said that. Very good. That. Okay? That. Then I changes to she. Then am, which is present continuous, changes to past continuous. She was coming. Absolutely right. So that is Somi Devnath. She said that she was coming. Excellent. Let's look at the present perfect scenario. What happens to present perfect? Again, present perfect, it changes to past perfect. So I'm not going to write the answer to this. I want you all to tell me what is the answer to this. Ravi said, I have finished. Ravi said, I have finished. Do you think that I will remain as it is, Simran? And others also? Ravi said that he, the have changes to had and the participle form of the verb remains as it is. Ravi said that he had finished. Excellent. Swagata, Lakshmi, and I think Shubhrang, and I'm sure many others are also, I think Kati Resan, Somi Devnath, okay, that he had finished, absolutely. So present perfect tense, that is, what is the verb here? Have finished, tells you it is present perfect. So what is the change that happens? So Ravi said that, then I changes to he. Of course, from the name you can make out it's a boy's name, he, then had, because present perfect changes to past perfect. So perfect tense, that is the participle form of the verb finish, is finished. He had finished. Alright, clear so far? Excellent. Now it's not just this, alright, so there are other examples. Can you give me one more example of present perfect tense? One more example of present perfect tense. Okay, let's say Sonia said, present perfect. Sonia said, I have completed my preparation. Sonia said. Okay, let me put it on the board. And I'm using Sonia's name, okay. Sonia, I hope you're okay with it, okay. Sonia said, I have completed my preparation. Right? And I want all of you to also say that as soon as possible. I have completed my preparation. Right? So, what speech is this? This is in the direct speech. Right? So, Sonia said, I think Shubhrang's changing it to indirect speech. Sonia said, okay, so this is direct speech. So, what do we do in indirect speech? Sonia said. So, here we put, I'll just continue. Sonia said that. Now, I changes to, because Sonia, as the name suggests, is a girl, changes to the pronoun she. Have completed, which denotes or which tells it is in the present perfect tense. Have completed, completed being the participle form. Okay, she had completed her preparation. I sincerely wish Sonia can say that as soon as possible. Alright, perfect. So Sonia, I think a target also for you from this example, that get started and get prepared and say this as soon as possible. Alright, so that is just another example. From your responses I can make out that it is clear so far. Okay, Sonia said that. So what are the changes that happen? One is that is the first change. Okay, then what happens? The first person, whatever is here. Okay, so based on that you change the pronoun, okay, accordingly, she. Then again the verb also changes. So these are a few changes that happen when you change from direct speech to indirect speech. But the point that I want you all to remember here is when the verb is in the past tense. Sonia said, only then these changes are going to happen. Okay, let's say Sonia said, and then if the statement, whatever it has, alright, these are the changes that will happen. I'll take some more examples where the verb here in the direct speech is in the simple present tense. What happens then? Are we going to make these changes then, or what are we going to do is what we're going to see next. Alright, let's move on. As I just mentioned, the other instances where you have to make certain changes, let's take a quick look at those also. Okay. Now, what happens when the reporting verb is in the present tense? Until now, what you saw was, okay, I think Vikram and others, you can try to refresh the page. I don't think there's any issue because not everybody is complaining. So I think you can focus on the session, just refresh, and I'm sure you'll be able to catch up with the session live. Alright? Okay, now let's look at these instances that I have. Okay, reporting verb. Okay, when the reporting verb is in the present. Now what do I mean by that? Okay, he says. Until now the examples that we saw had it in the past tense. Okay, he said. And that is when the changes occurred in the statement. But let's see what happens when it is in the present tense. What happens then? When it is in the present tense, he says that, of course, that is there. Then instead of is, the present will not change to past. Absolutely right. I think Shubrang, you got it right. Okay, he says that he is leaving. Very good. He says that he is leaving. So you see that there are no changes that are actually happening here. He says remains as it is because that is what it is in the indirect speech, but it is in the direct speech, sorry, but it is in the present tense, simple present. Okay, so he says because he is singular in nature, so thereby it is says. If it was plural, if the subject was plural, then obviously the verb would have changed accordingly. He says that. Now there is no change here. In the reported speech or the indirect speech, it remains as it is. That is, the tense remains unchanged. Okay, so far good, guys. Let's move on. Like the next one that I wanted to talk, very interesting. Now, these are a couple of things that will not just test your knowledge of grammar, but knowledge on grammar, but also whether you are able to understand the tone of the sentence. He says, I'm leaving. Okay, Vikas has a question, right? So whatever he says he is leaving. Now Vikas, you can say I am leaving, but here you don't have to assume that this he, let's say there is some, what you're saying is right. Maybe I can just replace this he as, I would say Vikas, okay? Vikas says he is leaving. You're talking about another person, okay? Let's say there's some other person and you're quoting it as it is. The point that I wanted to highlight was when the reporting verb is in the simple present tense, then there is no change in the statement. So he says that he is leaving. Now he is leaving, here he does not refer to the same person, okay, but if at all I replace the he, of course in this case it got slightly confusing, but if I replace this with, you know, this he by Vikas says, okay, Vikas says that he is leaving. Now he here does not refer to Vikas leaving, he refers to some other person who Vikas is pointing at and saying that he is leaving, okay. I hope that's clear, okay. Vikas, I'm glad that you guys are attending this session with utmost concentration, and that is the reason why you're able to point out these, you know, these kind of differences. So I'm glad that you are paying attention. Okay, now let's look at the second one. Others, please pay attention. When there are questions, okay, when you're reporting questions, for example, in the direct speech, if it says, he said to me, what are you doing here? Now, you know there's a question mark. It is an interrogative sentence. What are you doing here? A question is being asked. Okay? So, please remember, whenever there is a question, there is interrogation in direct speech, and whenever you want to report it or you put it in the reported speech or the indirect speech, you have to change the word said to asked. He asked me what then are you. Now you again will change to what was I doing there, or what I was doing there. Do we say what I was doing there? No, that's a mistake that more often than not people make. What was I doing there? Okay? So, let me make the correction. What was I doing there? So, that's a very common mistake. I'm sure you must have encountered similar questions in finding errors also. What was I doing there? Okay? Okay, now Mukesh. Why would you use the participle form? Mukesh says, what was I done there? No, obviously it's not done, okay, because it is in the continuous tense and you would not change that form, alright. The only thing that you have to change here is you have to change the present continuous, are doing, present continuous to past continuous. So was doing, okay, was doing, past continuous refers to past continuous. And the second change in case of questions that you have to make as per the situation, you have to use asked. The other examples of this could be, let's say, let me give you an example for this. Okay, let me give you an example. Okay, I was just coming to that, Dharmesh. Let's go step by step so that it doesn't leave people confused. Okay? So this direct speech to indirect speech of present perfect to past perfect is clear. So the next one that I wanted to just focus on was whenever questions being asked. Now in this particular example that we just saw, alright, which said, he said to me, what are you doing here? So what did I say? He asked me, what was I doing? Now here changes to what? He asked me, what was I doing there? So these are a couple of changes that you must remember. For example, when you say tomorrow, if you have to mention tomorrow, do we say tomorrow in the indirect speech? No. We use the next day. For yesterday, we use the previous day. So these are, as I said, there are a lot of concepts which we have discussed at length, both in our video lessons as well as the reference material that we have in the learning platform. But today's session being a 1 hour session, I'll just focus on a few key points, touching upon a few key concepts, and probably throwing some light on a few changes that may happen. Okay, that may take place. Okay, it's like next day. Absolutely, I think Lakshmi, tomorrow becomes the next day. Yesterday becomes the previous day. Okay, so when you talk about some day previously, so you say the previous day. If you say here, that becomes there. Alright, so a couple of things, changes like these do take place. Okay, so let's quickly look at another example that, I said that whenever there's a question in the, I'd say the direct speech, whenever there's a question, you have to, whenever you are quoting it in the indirect speech or when you're reporting it, how would you change the verb? Okay, so right now the scenario that we saw, we changed it from said, we made it asked because it was a simple question. Now we can also use words like questioned, inquired, etc. Okay, so in what situation should we use inquire? Okay, he said, when is the next train to Pune? When is the next train to Pune? Another thing that you must remember, that whenever we have it in the indirect speech, the punctuations are replaced, question marks are replaced by full stops. Okay, and of course the punctuation here is also taken off. Now let's look at this question. He said, when is the next train to Pune? Now he said, now if this is in direct speech and this is interrogation, there's a question, right? So do you think asked will be a very appropriate word in this situation? Because this is a situation where you are inquiring, where you're looking for some information, right? So the inquiry part, so whenever there is inquiry, so the more appropriate word or the verb in this case would be, instead of said, we will replace it by he inquired. He inquired. When is changes to was. When was the next train to Pune? Is changes to was. When was the next train to Pune? Yeah, I think because I just answered that question, and thank you also for informing Lakshmi, probably she missed it. We do not use question marks when we put it in the indirect speech. So in the exam, how do these questions appear? You have a question in the direct speech and you have options available where there are multiple options, 4 options, where there are different forms of indirect speech. So you have to choose. Now if you remember these rules, I'm sure you'll be able to choose the right option. Now the reason why I gave you this example was just in case, although that's not going to happen, the possibility is very I would say remote, but just in case it happens that in the available options in this, if there is a choice of saying asked and inquired, which one would you choose? If from the available options it says he said, instead of said it gets replaced by asked, and also in one of the options it says inquired. So which is the one that you would use? He inquired. Absolutely, Ganesha and others. So because you know that it is an inquiry, right? You are inquiring, you're seeking information pertaining to something. So inquire will be a context driven vocabulary. Okay, more appropriate vocabulary. I'm just giving, just in case there is an instance that asked and inquired are there in the options and everything else remains the same, then you have to choose inquired because that will be more appropriate. Perfect. Okay. Is changes to was. Okay, the is changes to was. When was the next train to Pune? Okay, because that is the inquiry. When was the next train to Pune? So at the point that you're asking, you want to know when is the next train scheduled. So when you're reporting it, you say he inquired when was the next train to Pune, and there will be no question mark, it will be a statement. It will be a statement in reported. Okay, yeah, absolutely. Lakshmi says it depends on the context, and It does, right? So obviously that is the reason why we focus so much on the context driven vocabulary. Alright? Okay, that was one. Let's quickly move on because there are other scenarios also. Let's say there are closed-ended questions. What do we mean by closed-ended questions? Closed-ended questions are those questions which you can actually answer with a yes or a no, or even with just one word. For example, if I want to ask you, is this session helpful? So obviously you will give me the answer either in yes or no, right? So what kind of question did I ask? It is a closed-ended question, right? With the only two options that I've left you with, the only two options are yes and no, right? So I'm just coming to the next point, that is the next type, okay? Next type that I wanted to discuss. Okay. Now if you look at the next one, okay, reporting closed-ended questions, especially questions where the answers will be restricted to either yes or no. Okay, what do we do in that case? Okay, he said to me, comma, inverted commas, are you interested? What do we do? So we replace he asked me, of course said becomes asked, he asked me about what? Okay, if or whether. Okay, if, are you interested means you ask, here it relates to you, right? So he asked me if I, now are changes to I, was interested. Are is in the present tense, you are, it becomes I was. Okay, he asked me if I was interested. Okay, let's say, one of your friends says, let's say Shubrang tells Lakshmi. Okay, Shubrang said to Lakshmi, are you interested in joining a course with TalentSprint? Okay, so again, if I have to put that in the reported speech, it will be like Shubrang asked Lakshmi if she was interested in joining a course at TalentSprint. Okay? Is that clear? Right. I think, yeah, I mean if you want to say he asked me, then yes, if I was interested, then it's fine. But Shubhram asked Lakshmi if she was interested in joining a course in TalentSprint. Okay, great. Shubhrang and Lakshmi, I think everybody else has followed. Okay, thank you so much, Lakshmi. Okay, I think everybody is asking Lakshmi if she was interested in joining. But Lakshmi, are you already are you already a part of our student list, or are you new to this session? So I think that becomes a genuine question. Otherwise, it becomes a hypothetical case. Okay, Gunisha, he asked me if I was interested, right? So let's say Gunisha, absolutely right. Vikram, I think what you mentioned is absolutely right. We don't use that in the middle, right? Okay, Lakshmi is new, so I think it's pretty, I would say relevant, right? So if Shubhram is asking you that question after the session, I think it makes a lot of sense. Okay, cool. So reporting commands and requests. So all of you are looking at the screen now. This is very important. Again, guys, as I mentioned, it's very important to identify the right set of words, okay, which means context-driven vocabulary is very important. Introduction of verbs like ordered, requested, commanded. What does it mean? Now, look at the first example that I've chosen for you. The master said to the servant, go away. The master said to the servant, go away. Are you able to understand the tone of this sentence? Okay, if I have to visualize, okay, not to stay away, but to go away. Okay, Shubhrang, I think Shubhrang has another version. Alright, no problem. Stay away. Even if I say stay away, that's absolutely fine. Go away, stay away. So the word where said, when you are reporting this in the indirect speech, when you're changing this to indirect speech, what is the context-driven vocabulary that you have to do? Instead of said, you have to write the master ordered, okay, ordered the servant to go away. Absolutely right. Shubrang, I was just joking, no problem. It could be stay away also, absolutely fine. As long as grammar is not getting affected, I'm absolutely fine with all sorts of creativity. Absolutely, I think Harsha, Swagata. Okay, Swagata says sound is distorted. Swagata, you can try refreshing. I think we have not done anything from our side. You can just refresh. I think it should be alright. Okay. But if you don't like my voice, that's a different thing. Right, Swagata? I think if you feel my voice is not good, then we can't do much about the distortion. But if it is anything else other than my voice, then yes, you can refresh and see. Okay? Alright, so look at the next example, guys. Look at this example. He said to them, please wait here till I return. Now, when you look at the word please, what does it say? What does it say? Okay, I think Deepak and everybody else is enjoying my joke. Okay. Thank you guys. I'm just assuming it's a joke. Alright, as long as you don't feel like that. Okay, he said to them, please wait here till I return. Now, please tells you it's a request. So said, you have to replace it with a context driven word which is requested. Absolutely right. So he requested them to wait, okay, to wait here or there. So here changes to there, till, I changes to he, then return changes to returned. Okay, so please, because of the please, you are changing said to requested. He requested them to do what? To wait there. Here changes to there. Till when? Till he returned. He requested them to wait there till he returned. Excellent. So I think you've got it right. Okay. I think essentially these are the concepts, basic concepts. Now in a 1 hour free live session, I think pertaining to direct to indirect speech, I think that's all I can cover before I can move on to, I would say, active and passive voice, right? So far I hope it's clear to you, right? So can you give me one more example before I can move to active passive voice? One more example, where you show, I would say, request. Okay? One more example. Till he returned? No. Till he returned. Everywhere, simple present changes to simple past. Okay? I want you to give me one more example. Gunisha, I hope that's clear. Till he returned. He requested them. If the reporting verb is in the simple past, okay, which in this case was said, right? In this case it was said. He said to them, which is in the simple past. In that case, you have to change it. Okay, he requested to wait till he. All the present will become past tense. So that is what you need to follow as a thumb rule. Okay, till he returned. Absolutely. Okay, I think one more example, if you guys are not coming up with it. Let's say you say, the students said, ma'am, can you please extend the session? Ma'am, can you please extend the session? So what kind of scenario is this? Can you please extend the session? Please shows request, okay? And there is a modal verb also which is can. So the students requested that if ma'am can changes to could extend the session. Okay? I'm just giving you one more example. The students said, comma, inverted commas, ma'am, can you please extend the session? Now what kind of a question is this? This is a closed-ended question. Remember the concept that I gave you? In closed-ended question, when the answers are yes or no, how would you say? You have to replace it with if or whether, because you want to know whether it's yes or no, right? But at the same time, I'm using a word called please. Please denotes request. It shows request. So the students requested if, okay, or whether ma'am, will I say can? Can is a modal verb, so can changes to could. Whether ma'am could extend the session by 1 hour. Okay, absolutely, can changes to could, right? So I hope the students requested if ma'am could extend the session or continue the session. Very good. I think Harsha and many others, you got it. So here I used two concepts where can is changing to could, and also you are changing in case of a request, right? In case of a request, because of the presence of the word please, we use the word requested, and also we use the other scenario where you are using a closed-ended question type where the answers are restricted to only yes or no. Okay? Whether or if. Shubhendu says it's not possible. Reply from ma'am. Okay. Commanded in case of army. Okay, like if there's a leader who's giving out some commands. I think Vikram, very good question. You know, the army chief said soldiers, you know, maybe take position. So what did the army chief do? The army chief commanded the soldiers to take position. Okay? It's not could continued because can is already changing to could, right? Modal verb plus the form, which will be continued. Swagata, it will not be continued, it will be could, because can is already changing to could. Okay, so you do not have to change continue to D. Okay, because that already means it is in the, you've changed it from can to could, already shows it is, the form has already changed. Could continue. Okay? Okay guys, let's move on to active and passive voice. Alright, so as I just gave you one or two examples, next day, here, there, hither, thither. Okay, so next day, like tomorrow becomes the next. So all these things, for all of you who have access to our learning portal, already know that we have all of it in detail in tabular form. But some of you like Lakshmi and many others who are new and who are attending this session for free for the first time, maybe you can just take a look, and if you really want to benefit from the session and especially want to take the benefit before the SBI clerks refreshers start, so you can enroll as soon as possible. Okay, so I repeat, it is www.talentsprint.com/bank, and alternately you can even dial 1-800-2000-916. Okay. Yes, mothers do order. Alright, Harsha. Let's move on. Okay. So again, active passive voice is an ocean of information, but I will try to touch upon some of them for you to have an idea how to approach questions. Alright. Okay, thanks Deepak. There you go. Turning on the fan is not an advice, Shubhendu. So maybe mother said, okay, mother said, you must drink milk. So what is that? That is an advice. Okay. So then the main verb will be the mother advised that we must drink milk. Okay. Advised us to drink milk. Alright. I hope you got it. Alright. Thanks. Let's move on. Okay. Now what is active voice here? Now thing doing action plus verb plus thing receiving action. Okay. Now here, let's make it simple. The professor. So what is the professor doing? The subject. He is the doer of the action. Right? He is the subject. Okay. So the subject directly acts or is involved with the verb. What is the verb here? Teaches is the verb. And who's the object here? That is the one receiving the action. The students. Okay. So it's as simple as that. There are different forms like the tenses. I would say there are like 20 forms of tenses in which there could be multiple changes. But I'm going to touch upon 5 of them today as a part of today's session. Okay. Okay, cool. Now passive is what? Thing receiving action. Let's say the same example. Who's the one receiving? The receiver of the action. So here the receiver of the action is here in this case the students. He is the receiver. Okay, that comes first. Receiver plus the be and the participle form of the verb. Okay, the form of the verb be. Be plus the participle form. So here again, because students is plural in nature, so are taught. Okay, teaches, which is in simple present tense, changes to, because students again has become the subject here. So receiver of the action plus the participle form of the verb. Okay, now are and is decided by the number of the receiver here. Okay, so are is because we are referring to the students, which is plural, are taught by the professor. So then we use by and then the one doing action. Okay, so it's just the opposite. See, so one who is actively involved with the verb, who is actively doing it, and the one that the action is acting upon. If that comes first, then it becomes passive. The students are taught by the professor. Okay, Varsha, I think you'll have to fix the spelling of the word taught. Okay, the one that you have mentioned is not available in the dictionary, but the one that we have on the screen is. Okay, let's move on. So now what are these? Now we have different tenses. You all know, right? All the tenses that you know. Simple present, present continuous, past, past continuous, present perfect. So, you know, in all there are about 20 of them. Okay, I'm not joking, there are like 20 of them, but practically not possible to cover all of them. Of course, when we do refresher sessions for our students and when we touch upon concepts of this again, we will try to touch upon all the concepts. But for today's session, I'm going to just take a few examples of simple present, simple past, past continuous, simple future. Okay. And as I just mentioned, you can see the number. As I've just mentioned, there are about 20 types of tenses where changes can happen. So these are the ones. What is it that you were talking about? If we use proper noun, then we use the. Okay, Vikram, I think I will like it if you give me an example, because jargons is something that I don't prefer. Okay, I think you can give me an example. Alright, and let's move on. So that's, we have common noun here, professor and students. Alright, let's move on. So as I just mentioned, there are about 20 instances in which changes can happen, but I'm going to just touch upon a few of them. Okay, you can probably revisit these later on as we upload it on our archives, and it also goes on YouTube. Okay, now let's say simple present. Okay, once a week Tom cleans the house. Okay, once a week, that's a phrase. Once a week, what happens? Now Tom cleans the house. Here, based on the concept that we just learned, Tom is the doer of the action. This is the verb. Okay, and the house is the object. Subject, verb and object. Basically, the doer of the action and the one on which the action is acting. Okay, so now when we change it to passive, what happens? Here, the house comes first, then cleans the house, simple present. So is the right form of the be, that is, okay, because it's simple present tense and it's singular in nature, and the participle form of the verb. What is the base verb here? It is clean. So what is the participle form? This is the participle form, right? Participle form is cleaned. Cleaned by whom? Again, the doer of the action. So that is the active, that is the passive voice. Okay, once a week the house is cleaned by Tom. Alright? Okay, cool. Let's move on. So, as I just mentioned, this is one simple present example. Let's move on to the next that I have for you. Simple past. Okay, what is simple past? Here you know the doer of the action again. Who is the doer? Sam. Alright, this is the simple past. Simple past, right? So what happens in that case? Again, simple past, singular subject, singular object, right? Again, it comes here in passive, the car, which is again singular in nature. So the helping verb was takes that form. The singular subject, the car, was repaired. We cannot say were repaired. Okay, simple past tense. So usage of was repaired, participle form. Okay, this is singular plus participle form. Singular, past, then this is participle form of the verb. Okay, participle, then by whom? By Sam. Okay, I think Shubhendu, please understand that you can actually say that in various ways, but essentially we should not change the form of the sentence whenever we have to report it. I mean, it can always go. That's a phrase, right? It's a phrase, that's a dependent clause, and the other part is the independent clause. So it can always follow the independent clause, but you must remember that, like in this example, okay, Tom cleans the house once a week. That also would have been correct, but we should not try to change the form of the sentence in which the question has been asked, okay? But grammatically the meaning will not change. The point that I am trying to bring here is, whenever you are changing from active to passive, focus on the area where the changes will occur rather than disturbing the order of the sentence. However, if you say the house is cleaned by Tom once a week, the meaning does not change. It is grammatically totally correct, okay? However, you do not have to change the pattern, because our focus is to make sure that you get this concept right in the exam and you do not lose your mark. Okay? Clear? So that's done. Let's move on. Past continuous. Okay, past continuous where was or were with the ing form of the verb. Let's see. The salesman was helping the customer when the thief came into the store. Was helping. So, salesman. Who's the doer of the action? This is subject. Okay. What was he doing? This was tells you it is past, and helping tells you it is in the continuous form. Okay. It is continuous. The salesman was helping whom? The customer when the thief came into the store. So, was helping the customer at a particular time when the thief entered the store. Now, we don't have to worry so much about the information, additional information, okay? You just have to focus on the grammar part. What are the changes that you have to incorporate while changing from active to passive? Okay? The customer here, on whom is that acting? On the customer, okay? The customer was, now ing, right form of the verb because it's the continuous form, being helped, okay? Was helping, which is past continuous. Here it changes to being helped again, okay? Right, by the salesman when the thief came into the store. Alright? I think this is clear so far. Let's move on to the, I think the last type that I'd like to discuss before we close the session. Okay, do not play around with the main verb, okay? As I said, you do not have to change the verb. So whenever it's active to passive, please focus on the format that I just gave you right now. That's going to help you. And there are many scenarios. I'm going to just cover 5 because it's not possible. We're already touching 7 o'clock. So I'll just quickly finish what I have planned for you today. Alright? Okay. Simple future, the usage of will. Okay. Someone will finish the work by 5 p.m. Okay. Someone will finish the work. Now someone here you do not know who. Okay, I can say, let's say Ravi or Shubhendu or Varsha. I can just replace this, instead of having this, I can say, let's say Ravi or Varsha. Okay, Varsha will finish the work by 5 p.m. Will finish. Simple future tense, will finish. So what will happen? The work will be finished. The work will be finished. Will be finished. Now here, because it's someone, I do not have to write that. But if I say by, if there is a proper noun, if there's somebody who I want to mention, the work will be finished by Ravi or Varsha by 5 p.m. So there'll be two bys here. By is first, who will it be done by, and then by a particular time. Okay, so that's the time that you're giving. So I just gave you one example. The work will be finished by Varsha. You should not miss the additional information, which is by 5 p.m. Okay? Alright, I think Ankit is promoting what we have already for TalentSprint. So good, thank you so much Ankit. You are just saving me some time to discuss a question. Guys, please make sure that you follow what Ankit has given on the link for others, so that I don't have to write it for you again. Okay? Cool. Let's move on. I think this is the last part that I'd like to discuss before I close the session. Okay, now simple future where you have the be going to form. Okay, Sally is going to make a beautiful dinner tonight. Okay, this is a very, I would say English way of saying. In India, we generally don't use beautiful dinner. We say a grand dinner, etc. But generally people in London, the English way of saying it, by the English, they usually use beautiful dinner and gorgeous dinner, which we usually use for dresses and people, etc. They use it for dinner too. So Sally is going to make a beautiful dinner tonight. Okay, so a beautiful dinner is going to be made. So again, please understand when it's simple future, but you have to use it like, the form of the be, and with going to, what is the change that happens? Again, is going to be made. Be plus make changes to made. By whom? By Sally tonight. Okay? A beautiful dinner is going to be made by Sally tonight. Alright? I think you got it right, guys. So please focus. These are the focus areas. As I just mentioned, this is the best that I could try to accommodate in a 1 hour session. I hope you all benefited from the session. Okay? As I said, there are like 20 different instances which have of course been discussed in detail, I would say on our site. So those of you who have access can obviously go through, all of it in detail. But some of you who are new obviously can take the advantage before we start the refresher sessions for SBI clerks. Alright? So hope you all enjoyed watching it. Okay, so that was about today's session. I think we covered direct-indirect speech, and I think Ankit has already done half of my job. But for others, for you to, I would say align your preparation in the right direction to take the benefit of the live sessions from the revamped material that we have, please do not forget to visit our site .com/bank. Okay, I hope it's visible to all of you, and alternately you can call on this number, and okay, the website itself is self-explanatory. I don't think you'll really have to go anywhere from there, but first preference, try to visit the site and see what is it that you require so that we can help you achieve your dreams. Alright, so all the very best. Okay, Shubhendu has suggestions. Sure, Shubhendu, you can look forward to more and more sessions. Like for everybody, it's not just the free live sessions. Free live sessions are there every Wednesday from 6 p.m. to 7 p.m. So for the benefit of everybody, we choose to touch upon some topics, although practically it's not possible to cover everything in 1 hour, right? So, but we try to look forward to these sessions and spread this word amongst your friends and all those who wish to pursue a career in banking. All right. Thank you so much, guys, for your participation, and keep practicing and keep learning. I'll see you all soon. Take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Trust your preparation for the upcoming SSC CGL Tier 1 exam is in high gear. Like you all must be aware, algebra carries a high weightage in the quantitative aptitude section of this exam. While this topic is considered to be a nightmare by most of the students, knowing the right techniques and smart methods can actually make it your trump card in the exam.
Hello everyone, I am Rohit and I welcome you all to TalentSprint, India's leading career accelerator for youth. If you are highly aspirational about cracking bank and SSC exams, then you have landed at the right place. TalentSprint's online preparation programs for bank and SSC exams can help you crack these exams with 10 times more confidence and boost your chances of selection. These online programs comes with a video library which has videos covering all the topics across the different subjects of bank and SSC exam. All these videos are coupled with e-practice papers for a well-structured and guided learning.